What's up everybody, it's Benjamin's Bay here bringing you another LEGO video with today more Toa, because the 11 Toa manga that I created earlier weren't enough. I got a few more named characters here, some are not canon, but more like from an alternate universe, as we'll see in a moment. Various Toa tools, various elements too. I was kind of like going for having a Toa of each element. I thought it would be an interesting niche to have. And by now you know the drill, the instructions and part lists are all available for free once more via the link in the description below. So let's get to it. First one is already on the screen. This is Toa Kapura, a Toa that in its Matoran form used to get in all kinds of shenanigans and had this weird mechanic where if he moved really slow he could for some reason be really fast at the same time. I have no idea what's going on there. I do admit I need to look into the lore of this guy a little bit more. Which is always the case with Bionicle, just because it has such a deep and rich story. There's always some new details to discover there. This design was not intended to be Toa Kapura, just a Toa of fire. But someone reminded me when I posted this earlier that it kind of looked like him, and I have to agree. In terms of the color scheme, it contrasts nicely with the green, but it's not really balanced, right? There's a lot of red here. I did try some other colors too. Orange, dark orange, yellow, brown, reddish brown, all of those. But it just didn't really work out, so I just decided to stick to dark red and red. The body construction is kind of a mix and match of the techniques that I used before. So with different legs, different arm setups, different armor. Once more you see the custom upper legs that I mentioned earlier, which are interesting because they allow you to play with heights and such. Most interesting part about this mock is probably right there, the fire axe. And I used a combination of system and technique pieces to create that shaping. Wrapped a string around the handle and pommel. It really suits a Toa of fire here, but that's about it for this guy. Next up is Toa Zaria, a Toa of iron that was seen all the way at the end of Bionicle in one of the online story serials that was unfortunately never finished. Now I have to admit I'm not a huge fan of the element of iron in and of itself. I think it's somewhat overpowered, similar to bloodbending in Avatar. So if up to me, we would probably scrap it all together or make it so they can only control a specific type or something. But I do like this design, I do like what I managed to come up with here, especially those Toa tools there. Let's start with the color scheme, dark orange and then a ton of different shades that remind you of something metal-like. We get pearl dark grey, flat silver, metallic silver, and then also some dark bluish grey, even dark grey, the older style, and of course some black there too. And I think they all go together really nicely to create this kind of rust effect, but also some metallic effects there too. The upside down Inika armor makes a return. We've already seen that with the Toa manga of Plant Life from earlier. Also a lovely dark orange Coracal shield there, which I believe is from a Star Wars set. The dark orange Kakama, the only mask available in dark orange. Still happy that we got that one though. And then of course the swirling gear maces with a technique that I also used for the Toa manga of Ice. Basically I just replaced the Bionicle eyes with some of those tiny gears. And I just love how that swirled around. Added one of those knob gears on top with a metallic silver ball. A few more bobs all around. And again a Technic chain wrapped around the handle to give it a bit more mass. Nice end pommel there. Custom upper legs. And that's about it for that one. Then we have Toa Orkahm, which is arguably a bit of more of a basic design here. But still I was surprised to see how many people actually liked that bow staff there. It's very straightforward, just some axial connectors and then end pommels in 10 on both sides. But people really seem to enjoy that one. And it does fit the element of air, of course. I was inspired by Avatar there. The color scheme is also somewhat interesting with dark green and that lovely sand green color. So that we did not get more elements in sand green. Other than that, it's fairly basic, almost a similar setup to the Toa Metru. I also incorporated a function where you can split the bow staff in half and store it on the back. I'm not sure if that's really a realistic thing to do, but you do have the option should you desire to do so. Then we have a dual purpose Toa. This is a Toa Nixie, and from the story, as a Matoran she was an astronomer, so it made sense to give her a telescope, which does have an alternate function as you'll see in a moment. The basic color scheme here, again, the same as our Matoran setup with dark blue, the blue Bakari there, custom upper legs, some jewels there on the lower left leg here. The holster with the chrome silver harpoons makes a return too, and we'll see that used in a moment. Mata feet there, some tires around the arms, slimmer shoulder setup. As for the telescope itself, it can be rotated, tilted, lifted up and down. It's a stable design. And I would just love how that turned out too. But the telescope is not just a telescope, because it can also be turned into a trident. So the Toa also has a tool to fight with. And you can see that the chrome silver harpoons that used to be in the Leica holster are now used as the spear tips right there. And then the tripod used as the main section of the trident. And the rest of the pieces I used to make that lower handle right there. And the pieces that were unused are stored on her back, so I did not need to store anything separately. Next is Toa Chiara, a Toa of lightning that was also seen in one of the discontinued story serials, along with Toa Zaria. And the main attraction here is the color scheme: white, dark blue and black. Lovely combination there. Some translucent pieces too. Again, some of those lightning zigzag pieces. And that white hull looks fabulous. Kind of Ibruni setup there too, apart from the inverted mata arms, of course. Some more electrical details all around. And then the zapper staff. And I use those worm gears to create kind of like that zapper effect. As if it's actually guiding electricity. Next up is Toa Varian, a Toa of psionics that was also featured in an online serial. Which was rather dark. But I do highly recommend you check it out. It's an interesting story there. Here's my take on that character. With lovely color scheme again. Pearl gold, medium blue, dark blue go together really nicely. This time similar setup to Toa Norik, again apart from the inverted mata arms there. I was really happy with those lower Vakia legs that were released in medium blue near the end of Bionicle with some of the Calatorian sets. Some more pearl gold details all around, and then a custom functioning Reduca launcher. Some of those chronicle stamps there, some more pearl gold swirling details. And it's fully functional. The interesting thing about this one is you can also use it to create some alternative Toa Haga marks should you not like the fan built designs. Elbow blades there too, and that's it. Next up is Toa Velika, which is supposed to represent the Toa of light here, not a Toa of stone. And the idea is that he became this cruel Toa, and I thought I'd combine it with the element of light. This is kind of a unique combination. I also did not have a Toa of light at this point. Color scheme of Metru brown, white, dark blues grey, dark red, which is of course supposed to represent natural coloring, of course. As for the weapons, a giant war hammer. Use some of those Technic friction gears there, some pulleys, Technic blocks, lift arms, 2 axes on top, and then also some round plates on either side. Again, the custom upper legs, and then on his other hand a net with a rather morbid detail. A lot of minifigure heads here. And also the Nui stone, which would be terrifying, giving Velika a Nui stone given his murderous nature. Some pyramids there on the lower legs. Try to balance the color scheme out a little bit more. And that's it. And this one originally started out as a classic Toa of light with pearl gold and white. I suppose you could call this one Jala Nuva, as some people have done. But the thing that I didn't really like about this one is the mask. It fits of course with the color scheme, but it's slightly smaller than a regular How, and the proportions looked kind of weird, so I just scrapped that altogether. But I did want to include this photo in case you would prefer to build something like this. It does have a nice color scheme to it. Then we had a Toa of light, and now we also have a Toa of shadow, which is of course represented by Toa Ahkmou. Probably the most logical choice to make him a Toa of shadow. Color scheme of black and Metru brown, I do like that combination. Interesting detail here, those upper legs and upper arms are rather troublesome to get in that color, because they only came in one Visurex set, the brown one. So, and only one of them each, so 4 Visurex were sacrificed for this build, which I have no problem with whatsoever. The mysterious artifact in one of his hands, of course the standard Rao is his mask, and then on the other hand a giant flail. And I did actually do some research into this weapon. I discovered that the handle should never be so short that the ball can hit your hand when you're holding it in the right position, of course. So I extended it a bit further out. Also learned that it's not a very effective weapon in most cases, but I'm sure that Ahkmou has a big enough ego where he can try to make it work anyway. I do love the design though. Happy with how that one turned out. So, those were all the named character Toa that I have so far. I don't think there will be any more, because I already have a huge collection of Toa here. But I do have some nameless Toa, and that are also interesting with new elements and some new Toa tools that will come up in the next video. So, stay tuned for when that idea washes up on the shore of a golden beach.